Global warming is the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, causing the temperatures globally to rise to a temperature far above the average. Many people believe that global warming is caused by humans and the large amounts of CO2 we produce each day. There are also a lot of people that think that global warming is a hoax. Some of the evidence for that is that there has been 17 years of stable temperatures since 1997. There has been no more warming than would be expected from other causes. In fact, a large polar ice sheet has been cooling since the 1950s, which is when CO2 levels were on the rise.
Major factors of global warming are the greenhouse gases, such as CFCs, nitrous oxide, methane, water vapor, and carbon dioxide. There are many signs of global warming. A few of these are collapsing ice shelves, rising of sea level, and flooding of coastal cities. Global warming is believed to be a hoax because of the cold temperatures of this year and last. But if you look at global warming over a 10-year span, there is a general upward trend in the rising of temperature. The believed cause of global warming is the mass CO2 emissions.
In Climate Change Reconsidered to Physical Science, a 1,200-page report written by a group of scientists, they state that atmospheric carbon dioxide is a mild greenhouse gas that exerts a diminishing warming effect as its concentration increases. They also claimed doubling the concentration of atmospheric CO2 from its pre-industrial level in the absence of other forcings and feedbacks would likely cause a warming of 0.3 to 1.1 degrees Celsius, almost 50% of which must already have occurred.
See from the graphs that some people have came up with that show the giant spikes in temperature and CO2 in just a few decades?
Well, it's actually, I wouldn't say giant spikes. I mean, you can demonstrate that CO2 concentrations have been climbing pretty steadily over the past century.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got very, very accurate measurements from about 1957.
So overall climate is different than weather, and weather is something that can change in short periods of time, but climate is more of an overall thing?
Integrated over a much longer time scale, yeah.
Okay.
So let's say more than 25 years, all right?
Yeah.
I suppose to respond to those denialist comments is that things like oxygen and nitrogen that dominate our atmosphere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't greenhouse gases. So in a sense, it's irrelevant. Making that comparison to the percentage of CO2 versus the percentage of oxygen and nitrogen in the atmosphere.
Okay.
Because really what you're concerned about in this argument is, how much greenhouse gas did you used to have and where, and how much greenhouse gas do you have today and where.
Ice cores show the amount of CO2 levels rising and lowering over time. We can show that global warming is real because we have ice cores that show a major increase in CO2 starting back around the Industrial Revolution. As stated by NASA, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the acidity of the surface of the ocean waters has increased by about 30%. This increase is the result of humans emitting more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and hence more being absorbed into the oceans. The amount of carbon dioxide absorbed by the upper layer of the oceans is increasing about 2 billion per year. Ocean acidification is particularly harmful to surface and deep water corals, plankton, snails, lobsters, clams, oysters, and other mollusks. Beyond individual organisms, ocean acidification holds broad repercussions for the entire ecosystem and human survival. The plant and animal organisms most affected by ocean acidification provide critical habitat and food sources for other organisms. Simply put, if life lower on the food chain dies, eventually we do too. Shrinking ice sheets is another example of global warming affecting Earth. The Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets have decreased in mass. Data from NASA's Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment show that Greenland lost about 150 to 250 cubic kilometers 36 to 60 cubic miles of ice per year between 2002 and 2006, while Antarctica lost about 152 cubic kilometers 36 cubic miles of ice between 2002 and 2005.
argument about global warming. We think that global warming is in fact real and a threat to the world as we know it.